21 past 6. Well, Cory Bernadi will see out the remaining 5.5 years of his term as an Australian Conservative. That's the name he'd like to give to his new political party. He will, of course, now join the Senate crossbench. One more vote to be won over, though it's likely he'll vote with the government most of the time, you'd assume. But I suppose until he starts voting, we won't know. Liberal Democrat Senator David Leyonhjelm will be one of his crossbench colleagues. Welcome back to RN Drive.
Good afternoon.
Has he made the right decision?
Not for him, I don't think. I can tell you how difficult it is for a small party, and especially since the Senate voting rules were changed, you now need at least 6.5% to win a Senate seat in a normal half-Senate election, and that's a big call for a small party. So I think he probably made the wrong decision, but he didn't ask me, and even if he did, he probably wouldn't have been interested in my view. But having made that decision, I'm actually quite pleased. Got to get on very well with Cory, and within limits, we have quite a lot in common.
How will life change for Cory Bernadi now as an independent?
Well, first thing is he won't be able to rely on his party to tell him how to vote and to advise him of issues, and he won't be rostered to speak on issues, just as a sort of a routine government speaker. He will be able to choose the issues that he wants to tackle, but there's also a bit of an expectation that he will be across all issues, which is quite challenging, I can tell you that. He will get some extra staff, assuming he's treated the same as the other crossbenchers, and that will help, and as long as he hires the right staff, he should be pretty right, but it will be quite a big adjustment. When you go into the chamber to vote, for example, whether it's on a motion or on a bill, if you're a member of the Liberal Party, Labor Party or Greens, you don't really have to know too much about what's going on and how you got to that vote. If you've been meeting constituents or talking to lobbyists or other party members or, doing something else, you can't follow what's going on in the chamber at the same time. So you can come rushing into the chamber when the bells ring and look around to see where your whip is and vote according. And whereas I can't do that, I need to know what's going on in the chamber all the time, especially whenever there's likely to be a vote.
Given he was elected on a Liberal Party ticket, in fact got very few individual votes, of course it's all based on the fact that, people are voting for the Liberal Party and that's what they're actively doing. Do you think it's fair to those people that voted for him that he stay in Parliament not as a member of the Liberal Party?
That's an interesting question. It's happened quite a lot of times before, and I've heard this debate, on a number of occasions. Would the people have voted? Would the voters have voted for the Liberal Party in South Australia in the same numbers if Cory wasn't a candidate? It would be, the other way of looking at it. Were they just voting for the Liberal Party, irrespective of who the candidates were? I'm not so sure about that. Cory has quite a high profile in South Australia. I suspect that a lot of the people who voted for the Liberal Party were voting for Cory. But, the question is how many, and I don't know the answer to that. But in any case, it's kind of a question without any consequence because he is elected as an individual. We all are. And the party does not own the seat unless he resigns.
Will you be working with him? Will you seek to form a bloc of any kind? I mean, I know you have some different views. You're a Libertarian, but you also share a lot of views, particularly on small government. We
do. I've got a lot of time for Cory. He's quite smart. He's quite a decent guy. He's principled, and that's something I relate to quite strongly. So, yes, he's a small government supporter, believes in low taxes, individual responsibility, except in a few areas. He would describe himself as a conservative rather than a libertarian, but conservatives and libertarians get on with each other reasonably well until you get into social issues. So we're generally pretty close to each other on economic stuff. And an example of that was when Bob Day was in the Senate. He and I worked pretty closely on quite a lot of things.
So do you hope to sort of develop a relationship like you did with Bob Day with Cory Bernadi on his own?
Yes, yes, I do. I'm thinking that he'll probably be closer to me on the crossbench than anybody else. And, I've already extended the olive branch to him and said, come and have a chat, work out how it works, how things go. So is
he coming over tonight into your office?
Today or tomorrow, yes. And I'd have to say also that he has helped my party a little bit with introductions to donors. And I did know that what his decision was a few weeks ago. So we have a relationship.
I have to ask a follow-up question. You'd expect me to. You say he's helped you with introductions to donors. Was he doing that when he was a member of the Liberal Party? Because you were competing against them.
Well, were we competing? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a zero-sum game. Some donors will say, donate to the Liberal Party, and then say, oh, well, we still have some money left over, now we'll donate to somebody else. The Cormac Foundation, for example, which is not the one I was referring to in relation to Cory, they have traditionally donated only to the Liberal Party, but at the last election they also donated to the Liberal Democratic Party and to Family First. And it was... I don't think it was at the expense of the Liberal Party that they did that.
But you do think that Cory Bernadi was central to making that happen?
No, not the Cormac Foundation. He introduced us to another... I rang him up and said, we think somebody might be able to help my party with donations. Could you introduce me? And he arranged for that, which was very kind of him. And as a result of that, we got a donation. Now, I'm not going into any more details than that. But, Cory is not hostile, and nor is he especially tribal. He's principled. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate about him. He is very principled, and I'm quite principled, so is my party. So I think we have a reasonable amount in common. Obviously, there are some issues, same-sex marriage, assisted suicide, drugs, I think some of his attitudes to Muslims, although I'm not 100% sure exactly what his view is, where we are a long way apart. But, in the Senate, you work with the people who want to work with you on things where you agree. Things you don't agree on, then you agree to disagree and you don't work on those together.
Senator David Leyonhjelm, thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
That's Liberal Democrat Senator David Leyonhjelm talking about, well, he was kind of very close to Bob Day, who's no longer in the Senate, and they often were known to work together. He hopes that Cory Bernadi will be his new Bob Day, his new bromance. I don't think he'll mind me saying that, but I feel like that's kind of where he's going with this. He thinks they have a lot of things in common and they will work together on this crossbench, which is interesting. He also says that Cory Bernadi helped him, get linked up to a donor and has really was very helpful to him, even when he was still in the Liberal Party. So some very fascinating, interesting insights from David Leyonhjelm tonight. He also says, of course, they're going to break bread, have a drink, have a chat, basically about how they'll work together, either tonight or tomorrow. What do you make of all of this? Politics, it's never dull in this country. 0418 226 576 is the number. I'd love to get your views. If you're in the social media world, you can go to our Facebook page and comment, or, of course, on Twitter using the hashtag RNDrive.